Hey everybody! So this video is about something called karyotyping. And this is a method that's really useful for diagnosing certain disorders, genetic disorders. And the process involves making either a karyogram or a karyotype. So the process is called karyotyping. So a karyogram is what you can see in this diagram here. And it's basically a diagram showing all the chromosomes that are present in each cell of that organism. So it's an ordered diagram because scientists combine the chromosomes into order from the biggest to the smallest. So it's an ordered diagram of all chromosomes in each cell. So remember that every cell in a species will have exactly the same set of chromosomes. So this is a human karyogram here, and that means that every cell in the human body has these same chromosomes. A karyotype, it's just a worded description of the karyogram. So it's a description of all the chromosomes in each cell. So normally karyograms are the most useful to figure out any genetic diseases, but the karyotype is normally what they'll give to a patient as the results of a test. So like I said before, humans, in our cells, we have 46 chromosomes. And you can see here they're actually arranged in pairs, and that's because humans and all the other, well, most of the other eukaryotes, we actually have 2 copies of every chromosome. So you can think of our cells as having 23 chromosomes, but we've got 2 copies. So 23 chromosomes times 2. So in other words, all the genetic information in a human is contained in those 23 chromosomes, but as we'll learn later on, we get one set of 23 from our mum and one set of 23 from our dad when we're born, well, when we're made. Okay, the next thing is the concept of sex chromosomes. So you might notice at the bottom of the karyogram here, there's 2 chromosomes that aren't numbered, but they're called X and Y. And these are called the sex chromosomes. And you've probably heard before that these chromosomes are what determine the sex of the person. So if a baby has 2 X chromosomes, like this example here, then that person will be female. But if the person has an X and a Y, and the Y is a lot smaller chromosome, then that person is a male. This is only in humans, so every species has a particular way of determining the sex of the individuals. In mammals, most mammals have the XY chromosomes, but in birds and insects, it's done a different way, or it's evolved to happen differently. So sex chromosomes determine the sex, and all the other chromosomes, they're just considered the normal body chromosomes that every person has, and they're called autosomes. So each healthy person will have 2 copies of each of their autosomes. And if we're thinking about numbers in humans, that means we've got 22 autosomes times 2, because we've got 2 copies of each of our chromosomes, plus our 2 sex chromosomes as well. And so that equals our 46 chromosomes in total. Okay, well the last thing is, how can you actually use a karyogram to figure out a genetic disorder? Well, here's an example of a person with a common disorder, and this person has Down syndrome. So I'll give you a second to have a look at this karyogram. Can you see anything wrong with this karyogram of this person? Okay, so if you haven't figured it out, the giveaway is down here. This person actually has 3 copies of this chromosome. And if we're following our numbers, well, our chromosome numbers, this is chromosome 21. So this person has 3 copies of chromosome 21, where we should have 2. And that's enough to cause the genetic disorder of Down syndrome. You might have seen someone, or you might know someone with Down syndrome. It causes some really characteristic changes in their looks and their appearance, and it also affects their cognitive and their brain function too. So this is how karyograms are useful. They can figure out if there's an extra or a missing chromosome, and helps us to diagnose different diseases. So karyograms can diagnose genetic disorders.